Alright, everybody. So lately I have been dipping deep into discussions on climate change, and there are a lot of reasons for this. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we're coming up on an election, and let's be real, climate change is one of those extremely serious existential issues on every election's docket that, for some reason, never gets as much attention as it really deserves. Despite that, it's very clear the Dems this time around are very much more pro-climate action than any time before. Biden's policies have been astronomical, and we can only hope and believe that Kamala Harris's policy might be even more radically pro-climate. Now, despite all this, there are still a lot of climate change deniers. They annoy the hell out of me, and they are endlessly lost in cognitive dissonance, and it frustrates me endlessly. But we're no longer in that phase where it can be denied, if that makes sense. For a long time, these climate change deniers have incredulously said, oh yeah, in 50 years we'll be underwater, and then we'll totally know. And it's just been this thing that's coming, you know? Like, it's coming soon. It may even come faster than we expect. It's always been the effects of it will happen soon. And that date for soon was famously always coming, but not quite here. Now, in reality, climate change has been making an impact in an effective, noticeable way across the world for decades at this point. And depending on where you live, you've known for a fact these effects are real and getting worse for a while. But despite that, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who find ways to... Really, the only way I can put it is, you argue to them that climate change is real, it is man-made, and we need to fight against it, and they will say nothing is happening, nothing is weird, no big disasters are happening, the world is not ending. And then when a disaster comes along, like this last hurricane, Helene, that just came through the south, they will, instead of seeing that as a debunk of their argument, it instead becomes evidence for why they were even more correct than if they were proven right, if they had correctly predicted what would happen. Like, actually, no, it's the Dems faking climate change to make us think it's real. So the conspiracy goes even deeper than climate change not being real. They become even more dedicated to their beliefs when they are challenged on them by reality, by irrefutable reality, like their flooding home. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene now claiming that they, quote-unquote, control the weather, and then posting a voter map on top of the hurricane destruction map. Really, really interesting stuff. So as you can imagine, I have not been of the opinion that this stuff is slowing down anytime soon. In fact, in my last videos covering Hurricane Helene, I have been repeatedly saying over and over and over and over again, worse is coming. More of these are coming, and it's not like soon as in a year, 2 years, whatever it may be, months. I mean, in weeks, we are going to get more of these hurricanes. We are in hurricane season right now. It just started, I believe, or we might be like a third of the way through it. It's going to be a rough next few months. And it's only going to get worse with each passing year, as every hurricane season, every drought season, every snow, like big blizzard season gets worse and worse and worse. And we see rising sea levels, bigger floods, communities like in North Carolina that never deal with flooding got absolutely demolished by unbelievably unexpected, unprecedented mudslides and flooding during Hurricane Helene. There are still bodies. FEMA is blocked in many areas because the low-lying, like swampy regions are still flooded with water, including the roads, so it's super hard to push through and get aid where it needs to go. Trump and the Republicans are trying to jump on this and claim that the federal government under Biden is neglecting providing FEMA care to survivors of the hurricane, but even Republicans in those states like DeSantis are now pushing back against that and denying it because it's becoming destructive to their own states and the desperate need they have for FEMA response. Like, their states are going to go belly up economically if they can't get things back together, you know? Even a Republican, governor of a state who is evil and awful does not want their state to go economically belly up and have half the voters have extreme property damage that goes unaddressed, right? It's a big problem. Nonetheless, there are many that will still stick to their guns. They're, like 450 Prime in YouTube chat just said, their own brain rot conspiracies are hurting them. Exactly. Now, though, only like, what, a week and a half after Hurricane Helene just decimated a coast of Florida and all the way up the west coast, they're getting another one. And guess what? As of 5 hours ago, ironically, it has now been categorized as a Category 5 hurricane. That's right, another hurricane, possibly worse than Helene, is about to shave through much the same area. It's called Hurricane Milton. Oh shit, again? You guys didn't know? Well, it's time to get caught up on the news, I suppose.
Hurricane Milton is rapidly strengthening in the Gulf today, bringing the threat of dangerous storm surge to the Bay Area. And we just got...
This is what I mean when I say it's not that climate change is coming anymore. It's here. This is going to happen worse and worse and worse every single year. This is the most tame and calm it will ever be again if we don't turn things back, if we don't reverse the trend. There is no more denying it. There's no more saying it's coming soon. It's happening. The apocalypse is happening in this respect. These hurricanes are going to come in a line after each other. The Gulf of Mexico has turned into a Category 5 hurricane machine. It is a factory that produces them. It's only going to get worse. The Gulf is so shallow, it's going to heat up more and more, and hot oceans make hurricanes.
A word from the White House.
Dude, I cannot wait for Trump to claim Mexico is sending the hurricanes as like some sort of weather, like act of war, because the hurricanes tend to form in the Gulf of Mexico. You cannot tell me that is not something that he would say, right? Like, you can't tell me he wouldn't say that. So when a hurricane comes through, especially one as big and destructive as Hurricane Helene, it destroys and wears down to a substantial degree the infrastructure set up to be worn down by these hurricanes, right? We actually did a story not long ago, or I covered a story not long ago, I should say. I'm not a journalist, where they talked about how, I believe it's in Clearwater Beach, or maybe a little north of it, north or south, the beach is being eaten away at a ridiculously fast rate, like a terrifyingly fast rate. And what is happening is, after every big hurricane, when the storm surge comes through, it eats away at the beach and pulls a ton of sediment out to sea, and they have to truck in sand and rebuild the beach. Not because it's like a beach where tourists go and there's houses backed up straight to the beach. And I mean, there's a whole beach town there. I'm not joking. Like a sea-level, flat beach town that if the water breaks over the beach, the whole fucking town floods by like a lot. It would only have to be a foot for the town to be under a foot of water. And so they have to refill that sand. When this happens so quick in such a fast succession, there is no time to build back up. There is no time to truck out more sand and rebuild the coast of the eaten away beaches from the last hurricane, which means this time around the storm surge, even if it's a weaker hurricane, is going to be way worse. There's going to be way worse flooding because nothing is stopping it, relatively speaking, compared to the last hurricane. Nothing is stopping it from breaking and getting inland. The flooding, I mark my words, the flooding will be worse. They need to be evacuating people. Like, legitimately, this is a big deal. The American South is quickly going to become relatively unlivable. I mean, for many people, it already is. Imagine you live in the coastal regions of the west coast of Florida that gets constantly hit by hurricanes every hurricane season. And now we're at the point where, at least in Hernando Beach, where I grew up, it's multiple times a year, like ankle to knee-deep water is flooding into your house. You have to live on stilts there now to not have your lease there be about 6 months, and also you lose everything to water damage. That is the reality of living in coastal Florida, in where I grew up, in my old neighborhood. And this is tragic to me. I'm really upset about this, but that is frankly just how it is. That is the reality of the situation. And it's only getting worse, and it's only getting worse faster. It's not coming anymore. It's happening. Who are these people going to sell their houses to? Fucking Aquaman? Because pretty soon there's not going to be times where these places are dry anymore. Right now, most of the time, these coastal towns and neighborhoods are dry. But pretty soon, we're going to reach a tipping point where those neighborhoods are underwater more often than they're above water. And that's scary to me. But we're getting there. Remember, guys, the storm category pretty much has no impact on the damage by water, which is arguably the most dangerous thing about a hurricane. People think hurricane, they think the dangerous winds, right? And that is dangerous. There's also lightning that you need to worry about. And, like, the wind can absolutely kill you. It knocks down trees. It rips apart buildings. There's, like, debris flying around. But generally, if you, like, get inside your house and you close yourself into a closet, you're like almost 100% safe, like during the worst of hurricanes, right? It has to literally be like beyond a category 5, like into ripping houses apart level of wind for it to be that dangerous. So the hurricane category slowing down is not so much a big deal. It's not going to have like a positive effect on the outcome here. It just means less things are going to get fucked up by wind. The big damage is, and has always been with hurricanes, the storm surge. And that is going to possibly be, due to the storm's growing size, worse than the last hurricane. Does the flooding come from the rain or from, like, the waves hitting the shore, or both? It's actually a combination of other things as well. The storm surge also has to do with the tide, but a lot of it is the fact that, like, I think a lot of it is rain, but also it just sort of creates a lot of waves, and you get a massive tide, and it just comes in. I actually don't know fully what all the factors are, because I can't imagine that the ocean gets higher because of rain. That doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me that one hurricane can fill the local ocean area with enough water that it noticeably raises the sea level. That just seems weird.
Special advisor, so it's working its way.
I will tell you, one factor you can account for if this storm surge is going to be awful is finding out when this is expected to make landfall, if that's going to be at high tide, and if it's going to be like a full moon when this happens, like a big, close full moon, you know? It seems like there are crazier tidal events depending on the like phase of the moon. At least that's what it seemed like living in Florida. Maybe it's just a month thing and has nothing to do with moon phases, but that's what I always associated it with. Hey, yeah, that is a good point, by the way. Before you feel too bad about this, remember that Florida single-handedly prevented Al Gore from winning the presidency in 2000. All right, there's always consequences to your actions. I'm going to die, Alex. I'm sorry, Wingo. Don't worry, Wingo. We are going to create a memorial page for you on my site if you die in the hurricane, all right? Also, you got a bit to get out of there. You should, like, start running. Like, pack your shit and get out of there. Like, evacuate. Like, quick. Like, go. Like, you've got time. Don't wait. Man, I hope my family ends up being all right. Most of my family that lives in Florida lives in Tampa. Zan, why do you keep calling me Alex, Wingo? I'm Zan. No, evacuation is not pack up and leave when everyone else is pack up and leave. There is traffic and no way out. That is not true. Where do you live in Florida? I live in Florida. I know for a fact that once you can navigate through countless little maze-like neighborhoods to get out of a city in Florida. And once you're out of the city, there are countless country roads that you can find. You can program your GPS to keep you off the highway, and you can absolutely get out. If you have a vehicle and you have a GPS, you can get out. You can. I promise you. And please do. Do not try to ride this shit out. Just don't. You can argue with my claims here, but I'm just simply giving you advice to stay alive. Nothing is more valuable to you than your life. Your house and possessions won't matter if you die with your house and possessions in a hurricane. You have to remember, even if, like, flooding seems relatively not a big deal. The houses in Florida are, let's be real, cheaply made garbage that will sog up and fall apart if they get waterlogged too much. It happens, by the way. And the higher the water gets, the more inward weight is pushing on every wall of the house equally, on every square inch under the water. And so as water rises, even if you're forced to get on your roof, your house could collapse inwards, it turns out, and you will die if that happens. Do not risk it. Please get out of there. Evacuate. Yeah, the times of ride these hurricanes out are gone. You can't ride these things out. It's literally going to be a horror movie for you if you try to. I'm just trying to get you to look out for yourself here.
In the coastline, you don't want to run from the wind. You hide from the wind. You run from the water. We'll talk.
Hurricane Milton is
yes, true. That that guy knows Florida storms. Whew. You hide from the wind, you run from the water. Isn't that exactly what I said before too? You can always just hide in a closet from like the really fast Cat 5 winds. Like they're not going to rip your house apart, so in a closet you'll be safe. But if your house floods, you can't hide from that, Yeah, the water is going to be a big problem. If you guys want to get a look at what it's like when this happens, actually, how many of you guys are familiar with the YouTuber/streamer, used to be a massive big shot, by the way, like a huge content creator, named Tfue. T-F-U-E. I used to watch him a lot during the Fortnite days because he was like the big Fortnite guy, and he was probably one of the best players in the game during his peak. But I haven't watched him in years because, just not really into that type of content anymore. But one thing I always found funny was that when I was super into Fortnite, I happened to be living in Tampa. And I noticed in Mr. Beast's video, I know, cringe, badly aged, but in Mr. Beast's video where he bought a school bus and painted it blue and then decked it out to be like a party bus, like the battle bus from Fortnite, and brought it to Tfue as like a Florida Tampa native, I started to recognize things, restaurants, businesses, road signs, landmarks outside of the window as Mr. Beast was driving to Tfue's house. And then when he pulled up, I was like, oh, I think I know where Tfue lives. And then I opened up Google Maps, and sure enough, I knew exactly where Tfue lived. And I was like, man, I gotta hold on to this. I don't know if bro's been doxxed before, but I'm not going to be the one who does it. I have to hold on to this information. So I always found that funny. I always liked the idea that, like, when I lived in Florida, I lived pretty damn close to one of the biggest streamers on Twitch at the time. It was one of those funny-ass, like, flexes that only 18-year-olds find cool. I was 18 at the time, for those that don't know. So Tfue recently put out a video where he is there in Tampa during Hurricane Helene. He was out skimboarding on the beach, which he does a lot in his videos apparently, and that is when Hurricane Helene hit with a lot more power than any of them expected. And so I want to show you guys this video for two reasons. The first reason being it's going to give you a good idea of what this hurricane damage is like. The second being it's going to show you what the damage after the hurricane is like to the things that help to prevent worse damage next time. They're still trying to clean up the sand that got washed out of place. You're going to see in a moment. Let me show you this video. It got 1.7 million views, and it came out 5 days ago because that is how recently the last hurricane happened. And I want you to remember through this whole video that in less than 2 weeks, every one of this video is going to have to deal with another hurricane coming. Also, trigger warning, I guess. Tfue's dad is a Trump supporter and is not afraid to show it. You'll find out what I mean by that momentarily. Let's watch.
Yeah, you can catch one wave and be 6 blocks down the beach.
Category 3 as it's making landfall, and it came in a little bit closer to us.
That's a hurricane siren.
Waves this big before.
I need to come take it home. Our driveway's flooded.
You want me to just take you?
Yeah, you want to take me, Merrick?
Yeah. Don't go. All right. I love you guys, but I can't get my picture.
So many great memories in here, Dick. Yeah, we should fuck it. I need a beer for this. All right, chat. So we're in a hurricane right now, trying to find some surf or some skin. It's not gonna hit us until later.
Those are just a few of like the cuts. And we're not gonna watch the full video in its entirety here, because it's a lot of vlog stuff, and it's stretched to that 11-minute mark for ad revenue and all that good stuff. What I really want to show you is the is the real action. Actually, that shot right there is amazing. Do you notice anything here? This is literally the exact beach that we covered in that one segment, I believe. And if it's not, it's just another example of the issue that's happening across Florida. Look how little beach there is. This line, if you recognize that, if you know water and beaches, you know what this line is. That is the line from water lapping away dry sand. The water is coming in, it is eaten away at the beach, and it is now just slowly dissolving this away. And you know, because this whole area is about to flood in this video, that the water is about to rise above their heads. The water is going to rise well above their heads here. And as that happens, the current is eating away at this sand at an unbelievable rate. And this is the sand that the foundations of these buildings are all built on. We are very, very close to the reality that scientists, climatologists have warned about, of cities underwater, millions of people displaced in America by flood and rising sea levels. We are so close that it's going to be happening in the next few years, that we're going to be seeing this go down.
15 miles an hour offshore. So like you start paddling into it, you get, it's like it's wind pockets and the wave breaks and it just blows in your face.
Look at them. You got to admit, though, the surfing during the storm is pretty fun. The surfing during a storm, you got to take the opportunity. But eventually they realize, oh, wait, this storm's getting real.
Wow. I've never seen weather and waves this big before. The beach is like not even existent. Like,
no, dude, we saw a dock floating down for at least like 5 blocks.
Seen a clip of that, just like. No, can you get the lift up anymore?
The water.
bro, if my boat's already floating, that's really bad, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Your hair almost broke.
Man, the wind is fast.
Hello?
Hey, I pointed out that the water is above our pool now, and it's only getting higher, so I'm not really sure what to do.
Just take everything that's valuable from the ground floor. I'm worried about...
Our next door neighbors has water in their house.
Oh, that dock's in the water over there. That boat's about to be off their lift.
You may need a truck to get home. We just lost power. Our driveway's flooded.
You want me to just take you?
Yeah,
You want the power to go out, to be fair. Big advice for any people in the path of big storms, especially if you're like a 20-something who's living alone for the first time. Something you have to know what to do about is if your house floods, then it's because a storm has come most likely. And if a storm's happening so severe that your house is flooded, then the power is probably going to go out. Here's the thing, though. If the water goes high enough that it starts covering up electrical outlets, it could be, power strips, power outlets, just anything like that, and the power comes back on and you're in that water, it could be a serious, serious, serious problem. Like a really bad problem if the power comes back on. Now, water does damage electronics if there is no power, Circuit Dog. This water will. This is very dirty, shitty, like awful water with a little bit of salt in it. It's like perfect for rusting steel and other metals. It's very gross. It's sticky and full of muck and whatnot. It's not at all just pure water that electronics can take. You want to flip your breaker yourself, and you do not want to flip it back on and allow power back into your house until every bit of water is gone. Obviously, things can still be damp, I guess, but you do not want your power to come back on while water is still draining out. It could be a big problem. Once the flooding starts, you want to flip the breaker even if the power is already out.
Beach. From the beach?
Oh my god.
Oh, wait.
Dangerous big tires are in water.
I just don't want to get my truck somewhere and be stranded. How far are we? Don't go? All right. You guys want to walk?
It's getting warned not to go further because his tailpipe will get flooded. The truck won't be able to go further. He'll get stuck. I know, because I've been in that situation. I've been through this, by the way. I literally was made homeless in 2016 when I was a teenager by not even a hurricane, tropical storm. Hermine came and just, ironically, it kind of rhymes with Helene, and came along and just flooded Hernando Beach, which was my neighborhood at the time. It looked a lot like this. The footage you're about to see is very familiar.
I like this video because I'm gonna lose a lot of money. Oh, it's not good.
Only I did not have a house this nice. It's filling his garage.
It's floating.
It's getting in.
Yeah,
His car is floating.
I don't like it the car's off when we're in water.
We're in a lot of electricity right now, so we should probably...
She should not be walking around in the, they should not be walking in this water. Look at the color it is. It's that color for a reason.
Oh yeah, not so much.
That last shot is a really good idea of like how bad it got, because you saw a bit of the garage there. Like the garage is obviously fucked. But this is him closing the door to the garage and in like shin deep water in his bottom floor. This guy's got like a really nice like mansion style house in Tampa, Florida. So, you know, it's you don't feel too bad for him and everything. He's got so much money, he could easily move, he could easily get all this fixed, but at the same time, there are countless other people going through this and worse, you know? His house is faring better than a lot of the other houses in the area, I bet, and this is how bad it is. Imagine if you're asleep and you're not fast enough and you realize every electronic on your bottom floor is destroyed when you wake up.
Oh yeah, not so much sand on the beach access. Insane. How you can't move that. How you gonna move that? I mean, you got a beachfront property
sand.
now, huh?
No, I have a beach house.
You guys gotta either stay inside or get outside.
I'll just gotta check on my other properties down the beach.
You can't. It's a mandatory evacuation, and these things can't be on the road unless they're tagged.
What about a car?
If you got a car, you can get
Look at all the mud.
for being out when there's a mandatory evacuation.
The road's covered in sand and mud.
Mandatory
And
evacuation.
trash.
I'll go write a ticket and be done.
I'm saying, how do we
I'll go
leave?
write a ticket and be done. Turn around, go inside.
He's like, oh, it's a mandatory evacuation. Well, how do I evacuate?
Well, I'm gonna write you a ticket right now for trying to leave. You just told me I either can leave or I can stay, and I'm trying to leave, and you're like, you gotta turn around and go home.
Well, if I get arrested, does that mean I can leave?
All right, Chad.
Dude, the aftermath of hurricanes sucks so much in Florida. It gets so fucking hot after a hurricane. If you know, then you know. It's that time of the year, and it's just your power is out sometimes for days, so you've got no AC and no entertainment. And if you're really hit bad and in a big city, you might not, like, it gets humid and hot, and it's just boring. And you get to the point where you just start driving around, if you're allowed to, for just to run the AC and to listen to the radio. It really sucks. That was a thing that happened like once every few years when I was a kid. Now it's a few times a year. And it's only getting more common. It's only getting more severe every time it happens, too.
We cleaned up a lot. All the cars are fucked. But the fire department's on the way. They gotta get my Tesla out of the garage because it's making a bunch of weird noises. It was fully submerged in water last night.
Well,
we had water all the way up to like 4 feet above the bottom floor. If we didn't have
another
a second
Tesla
floor, we
down,
would've been
guys.
fucked. Yeah, the BMW's fucked, the 30 M3. 57 Chevy is fucked.
Yeah,
Tesla's
there's a
fucked.
lot of houses that don't have second
Oh, did I mention
floors.
that
Mine
mom's
didn't.
Tesla blew up earlier today.
One Tesla flooded, one blew
Like
up.
140 calls for the day.
Sorry you had to come deal with my dumb ass.
Oh, it don't matter, man.
So many great memories in here, Dick.
This is Dad's house.
I think you should leave the sand up.
This is the deep end now.
Yeah, it used to be 9 feet. Now it's full of sand. Chat.
Look at all-
That used to be the deep end of the pool.
So this sand here is not supposed to be there. Like, you can see the beach is right there. The beach is supposed to end, like, if I remember right, around this tree. All of this is like concrete patio covered in sand because the ocean came and consumed all of this.
Pool used to be grass here. The Jug Squad sticker still stands though. Right there. The water was up to here. The sand was up to here. That's the legendary.
You can
window.
see the water line.
Mr. Beast was right here.
I wanted to donate to you.
No, the PCs are fucking toast. I'll take the hard drives though. I'll take the Fortnite trophy. That's the sickest
Oh.
trophy ever. The fact that you can just take the pickaxe off. They let me pick them. You know that when I won? I picked the pick squeak.
It's up to here in
You can see the Dad's Make America Great Again hat. I think he switches between multiple Make America Great Again hats in this video because I think it changes color, if I remember right. You gotta love watching in real time as Trump supporters experience the consequences of their vote.
sand. It blew the window out, and the waves came right in.
I don't think it looks that much different than before.
I'm glad that he lives in a fantasy world of gaming and stuff. I had 3,000 pounds of sand in here and water. Your room, we cleaned it out. Look at it. Lunch.
He just walks away. Lunch.
Yeah, this place.
I didn't vote for him.
Oh, another
Oh,
one.
we're not talking about you. Oh, look at the rats. Oh my god. Dude, his dad's house had rats. His dad's house had rats, and when the house flooded, the rats drowned and, like, tried to escape. And so when the water receded, there's just dead rats on the floor. Dude.
Condemned, I think.
Oh, another one.
Where?
You care about that fence?
Not at all.
I care about that.
I care about
Haitian
that.
cats washed up.
I'm surprised the trampoline did not get blown
Sorry, we
away.
have to have a commercial
The
here.
trees
David
probably
Phillips,
caught it.
Real estate attorney, Pinellas County, the best in the world. He comes over and helps clean up.
Anything for you, Dick. Ow! Oh, did I get you?
So the attorney dropped something on my foot, so I need Morgan & Morgan to the attorney.
I mean, chat, I don't know if you guys know, but all my cars flooded. My homie Chris gave me his Raptor, so I'm pretty stoked on that. But we gotta get the fuck out of here because the air quality's so bad. They must be pumping shit in the water. It's probably fuel, fucking sewage, who knows what washed up here.
Oh my
Let's go
gosh.
check out other properties.
Well-
There's a boat in that guy's yard.
Something that you got to keep in mind as well is that every time a big flood hurricane comes in with a big storm surge, every boat gets capsized. All the boats docked at all the marinas and on all the docks at every canal get lifted up past the dock because the most popular docks are either fully cemented down and so they just flood over, or they have hinges so they can rise a bit with the tide, but if it floods too much, they also sink. And then the boat breaks off of its mooring, and it ends up floating around in the waves and the hitting of the sides of houses and trees and stuff, because it's floating through a neighborhood, ends up causing them to capsize and bust open, and the fuel tanks leak, and you end up with fuel-filled water, gasoline-filled water all over. So after a hurricane, it doesn't even smell all oceany. It doesn't even smell nice after a hurricane, like the ocean, salty, like a sea breeze. Instead, it smells like leaking cars. It smells like motor oil.
Yeah, chat, this is my rental property, I guess. I'm pretty shocked. Yeah, we should.
Everybody's shit is flooded.
Bad. Oh, fuck. This is right before I was born. Ow, it's my brother and my sister.
Water's just in the outlet.
I know. The house flooded.
That's
sucks, but at
dangerous
least
as
the
hell.
trees didn't fall into the roof and smash it.
I never actually saw the water line here, but look at that. This is one of the
Holy
worst I've seen.
shit. That's crazy. This is where the water was. You can tell this is little leaves and debris that stuck to the side of the house along the water line at its top, and it stuck as it dropped, and it dropped fast so you don't really see other lines, but this is where the water stopped rising. You can see it. That is insane. That's up to the doorknob. Wow. And it's only getting worse, and it's only getting more frequent. Do you think there's hope for the climate if Harris wins? Only if Harris wins, to be very clear. Only if she wins.
This is the worst house of it all, for sure.
All right, Chad, hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. There's still a lot of work to do on the beach. A lot of houses are destroyed.
So I wanted to show you this because the damage is going to be very similar when this next hurricane comes along, which is, one thing. But on top of that, their protection against this damage has just been annihilated by another hurricane. The beaches are eroded. The infrastructure is damaged. People's power in many places probably aren't even back on yet. And there's about to be another hurricane, even more damage. And guys, I would not be crazy to predict that another one's going to start forming as soon as this one passes. Why wouldn't it? We're in the midst of hurricane season, and this is just how they are now. Please get out if you can. And if you can get out permanently, that is ideal. Unfortunately, if you're a Floridian or you live in Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, less so, but going up the East Coast in the South, there's a good chance that in the coming years, and I mean count on one hand, you might end up being a climate refugee. We're that close. Is Disneyland affected? It will be, if it isn't already. It's going to be bad. Waffle houses are going to be closed. It's going to be that bad. Anyway, guys, despite the very, not exactly happy subject matter of this segment, I do hope you're able to enjoy it. If you found it entertaining or informative, and hopefully it was informative in an educational safety kind of way, if you, God forbid, are in the path of this storm, maybe you learned something that can help you stay alive. Regardless, please consider dropping a like. It really does help the channel a lot, and it means a ton. Consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon if you haven't already and you want to see more content from me. And comment down below if you also want to help with boosting the video and the channel. Every like and comment I have watched in real time, as it makes YouTube push my content out to more people. So everyone who does that, it really means a lot. If you want to see more from me on other platforms, you can follow my social medias, linked down below in the description of this stream or video. And you can also join my fan Discord if you haven't already. It's totally free. It's the main hub of my community and fan base. And on top of that, I host watch parties, gaming events, call-in streams, and announce all my new uploads and streams there. So if you don't want to miss anything, then please consider joining that as well. And finally, if you're feeling generous and you want to support me directly, financially, help keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to me on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch at the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support me, thank you for watching, even if you're a lurker, and have a good one.